Hello and welcome to the Sound Solutions podcast with MusicWorks. My name is Annela Flores and I will be your host. I'm a board-certified music therapist, and we decided to start this podcast because we wanted to create a space where we can talk about music therapy, where we can talk about the effects of music, where we can talk about professional success in not only music therapy, but other helping professions. So if you're listening to this, thank you for joining. I'm so glad you could be with me today. Just to start off, I wanted to talk a little bit about MusicWorks. We were founded in 1987 by Barbara Royer, who's our founder and CEO. And MusicWorks is a music therapy agency whose mission is to create, cultivate, and celebrate experiences of unlimited growth and potential. And we'll have Barbara on the podcast in one of these next few episodes to talk about her journey to create MusicWorks and how she decided to go into music therapy. I also wanted to share a little bit about myself so you know who I am. Again, my name is Annela. It's like Angela without the J. So, I just want to share with you about my journey into music therapy and why I decided to become a music therapist. I grew up with music. Ever since I was little, I've just been surrounded by music. My dad plays guitar, and my family actually has a picture of me when I was just a little few months old, and my dad's serenading me with the guitar. And I grew up doing musical theater, choir. I play guitar and sang in my church, and I was involved with so many things that were like music, arts, and it was something that I've always enjoyed. Growing up in the Los Angeles Children's Chorus, I was a part of that organization for at least 7 years. I got the opportunity to perform with professional organizations like the LA Master Chorale, the LA Philharmonic, when I was like in middle school and high school. And those are really cool experiences that opened me up to the world of professional music. And I realized that it is possible to make a career out of music, and people do become professional musicians and make a living out of it. So that was my kind of first introduction into a music profession, and I realized it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to have music be a part of my life and my career, but I wasn't sure exactly how that would look. And when I was in high school, I was probably a junior in high school. I was looking for universities and colleges. I'm sure many of you can relate to the college search, trying to figure out what your major is, trying to figure out what you want to do in life. Those are a lot of tough decisions that, 16, 17, 18-year-olds are expected to make. As I was searching for different universities that I could attend and apply to, I stumbled across University of the Pacific, and I saw that they had a conservatory of music. That piqued my interest because I was looking for a well-established music program. I knew that I wanted to become a music major. So I checked out their website. I looked at the different majors that were offered. It included like music management, music education, music composition, music performance. And then the last one on that list on that tab was music therapy. Music and therapy were two words that I had never seen together, and it piqued my interest a little bit. So I clicked on the link and I read this short description about music therapy, and instantly I was intrigued. I was like, I need to learn more about this. I went to the website for the American Music Therapy Association, which is musictherapy.org. You can check it out if you want to learn more about music therapy. And I read that music can be used with children with autism to help improve social skills and communication skills and to enhance their quality of life. I learned that music can be used as a tool with people who've experienced traumatic brain injuries and strokes to help them regain their speech and physical movement skills. I learned that music can be used to help people recover from emotional trauma. And this was so fascinating to me. I was blown away. There was a descriptor on the website that explained, who a music therapist is, what does a music therapist do, and what kind of person would be a good fit to become a music therapist. It was talking about music therapists need to be competent in voice, piano, and guitar, which were all things that I did growing up. I used to write songs on guitar when I was in high school. Not very good ones, but I played piano. So I was like, okay, check, perfect. Music therapists should have a passion for helping people. They should be interested in helping people. And music therapists should be interested in science and the body and the mind. Those were all me. Those describe me perfectly. I knew that music therapy is what I wanted to do. I turned around and told my mom, hey, I'm going to become a music therapist. And she was like, whoa, don't get too excited. Like, people change their majors all the time, just keep yourself open. Don't get too attached. Like, just be open to see what's out there. And I was like, no, Mom, you don't understand. I'm going to become a music therapist. She was like, okay, fine. Lo and behold, yes, I did end up becoming a music therapist. I attended University of the Pacific and completed a 4-year bachelor degree in music therapy. And then after I finished all my coursework, I moved down here to San Diego to intern with MusicWorks, which was a 6-month clinical internship in which I got experience with a wide variety of populations, including adult medical populations, children, adults with intellectual disabilities, substance abuse recovery, etc. Since that moment that I decided to become a music therapist, I have never once doubted my decision, and I've experienced so many powerful moments with patients and with clients that really impacted me for life and showed me the power of music to transform and to bring restoration into people's lives in a variety of different ways. My first semester of practicum work when I was a junior in college, I was facilitating a group of older adults. It was in a memory care facility, and I was working with a lot of individuals with dementia and Alzheimer's. If you know anything about Alzheimer's, you would know that it causes memory loss. It breaks down the brain, essentially. Like, your brain actually becomes smaller. It's a disease. And so some of the people that I was working with were very disoriented and wouldn't remember their family members' names, and they wouldn't know what time of day it is. There was one woman in our group who, every time we started the music therapy group, she was in her wheelchair and her eyes were basically closed. Her head was hunched over, her back was hunched over, and she was asking things like, where am I? What time is it? Who am I? What's my name? Who are you? She was completely disoriented. She didn't know where she was. She didn't even know what her own name was. I can't even imagine how scary and how devastating that would be, not only to be a person with Alzheimer's, but to be a family member of someone who's experienced, very severe memory loss like that. Well, during this music therapy group, we did a lot of music-based interventions, singing, songwriting, music making, improvisation, movement. And we got to a point in this session where I started singing You Are My Sunshine, which is a very familiar tune. A lot of older folks know this song, and it's across the board, music therapy standard. As I started singing, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine, this woman, her head went up, her eyes opened so wide. She looked directly at me, and she started singing every single word to that song. In tune, all the correct words, both the first and the second verse. And in that moment, she was completely oriented to where she was. She was living in the present moment. She was reliving her memories. I found out later from one of the nurses that this woman's nickname was Sunshine, and a lot of her friends and family used to call her that. So this song was attached to a very specific and emotional, important piece of who she was. She was able to reconnect with her identity, to reconnect with her past through this one song. And that moment really stuck with me until now. And it's something that I always think back on, and as I remember how powerful music can be. Something that I find so fascinating, especially as a music therapist, we talk a lot about the effect of music on the body and on the brain, on the mind. If you've ever taken a psychology class, anatomy and physiology, or studied neurology at all, you would know that there are different parts of our brain that control different functionings of our body. So we have two hemispheres in our brain, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. And things that happen on the right side of our brain control what happens on the left side of our body, and vice versa. There are specific parts of the brain that control speech. So the occipital lobe, which is right in the back of your brain, that's responsible for your sight. In the temporal lobe, we have parts of our brain that control hearing. And the brain stem is responsible for breathing and maintaining heart rate and temperature. Other parts of our brain are there to control coordination, language, touch. The frontal lobe, which is kind of where your forehead is, it's like the front part of your brain. That part is responsible for our planning, thinking, memory. It's the executive functions. Basically, like if you've ever had to plan, like, oh, I need to do this first, and then this next, and then this next, that's your frontal lobe working really hard to make sure that you can plan and organize. So, like I said, different parts of our brain control different functionings. There's a small, very small part of our brain that controls our expressive speech and what we say and planning what we say. But there is not one part of the brain that's designated as the music center of the brain. And this is what I find so fascinating. And this is what gives me excitement as a music therapist in the way that music can affect our brain. Because there's not one part that controls music, the way that we perceive music. But music actually connects both the right and the left hemisphere. It evokes feelings and emotions. When you listen to music, it can incite some sort of movement response. You might want to dance. There are so many things that are connected to music. There's so many layers to music that really light up different parts of our brain all over. There's a research study that's done, and I'll see if I can find the citation for it so I can share it with you in the links. There's a research study that compared the brains of musicians, like professional practice musicians, to people who didn't really have any music making experience. And it showed that the corpus callosum, which is the part of the brain in between the right and the left hemisphere, which connects both sides together, the corpus callosum, that connector between the right and the left, was actually thicker in musicians, people who have practiced music. And that part of their brain was literally physically bigger than people who did not practice music professionally. Back in the day, scientists used to believe that if you had a traumatic brain injury if you had some sort of disease that deteriorated parts of your brain, that you would never be able to gain those functions again. Well, recently in modern science, we've proved that that's actually not true. Scientists have discovered neuroplasticity, which recognizes that the brain has the ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections in the brain. So if someone had a stroke or some kind of traumatic brain injury and they lost functioning in a certain part of their brain, that those functions can actually be regained by the brain's ability to make new connections. And what I find so fascinating in that is that music can actually serve to help facilitate those new connections. Neurologic music therapists work with individuals who have had traumatic brain injuries or some kind of neurologic disorder and use music to entrain movement. So improve walking, improve gait, improve movement, improve speech. That is just the tip of the iceberg of some of the things that I want to share with you on the Sound Solutions podcast. This is not just for music therapists, but this is for anyone who's interested in how music and creative arts can really serve to function to improve our quality of life. Some of the things that you'll be hearing on this podcast are we'll be doing some interviews with music therapists, asking them about their journey to becoming a music therapist. We'll have professionals be giving their business advice on how they started their private practices. I want to share with you some different skills and ways that you can practice self-care and ways that you can use music to positively benefit your life. We're going to talk, especially for those of you who are interns, music therapy interns, and students, some tips and tricks to help you survive college, to survive internship, and become a successful music therapist. I want to help you get there. I also want to share with you some intervention techniques. This is specifically for music therapists. Tips and tricks that other professionals in the field have discovered along their journey. And even if you're not a music therapist, those episodes are going to be really exciting for you because you get an inside look into the process of music therapy and how we plan treatment and what are the types of things that music therapists think about. How is music therapy different from recreational music or an educational-based music experience? I just want to encourage all of you and to help you be the most successful that you can be in your professional career, in your personal lives, and talk about ways in which music therapy and music-based wellness and arts-based wellness can serve to enhance your life. So thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe. Please download your podcast episodes. Listen to them on your commute. It's going to be a really exciting journey. I encourage you to check out musictherapyandwellnesshub.com. It's a website that I've been working on a lot that we're just launching. It's an online course platform for music therapists, for students, and for anyone who's interested in integrating music and arts into their life. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on our Sound Solutions podcast. My name is Annela Flores, and I'll see you next time.